Scott, we understand a breach is imminent at the Smithland Levee tonight, right?
Yeah, that is something that they are really concerned about, some leakage there. And of course, it is pouring rain once again, something we do not need. You know, I was in Smithland today with photojournalist Chad Darnell, and talking to the folks, you really got this disappointment from people. They understand that the river is going to win this round, and there is nothing anyone can do about that. But you also got that feeling of resolve from people that once the waters do recede, they will reclaim their town. There is no longer anything anyone can do but pick up everything not tied down and move it to higher ground.
Just any place we can go, everything we can get.
The town of Smithland had pinned its hopes this levee so many people volunteered to build would be enough to hold back the rising Ohio River, but new estimates say the water will top the levee by 3 feet or more, inundating government offices and businesses alike.
We had a plan, but the water's going to be so high we can't really execute that, so we got to go to plan B and maybe plan C.
I want to put this situation into perspective for you. What you're looking at right now is the levee that so many volunteers worked so hard to create. I was here on Saturday and the water was not even up to that levee. Now it's lapping right up there, and by the time this is over, that river will have crested over that levee by about 3 feet. That is going to inundate this entire area of Smithland, and as you can see, it is a ghost town right now. There is no one in any of these homes or businesses. That's because most of them will be filled up with water by the time this is over. One more thing I want to show you. You can see here at the courthouse, this courthouse that's brand new, it's not even open yet. They're estimating that by the time this is over, the water will be about 2 feet up. So it will have been filled with water before it even opens its door.
Unfortunately, it's very disheartening. So, I guess it's disheartening in a way to see the water coming, but incredible to see all the work. Excuse me.
Judge Executive Chris Lasher kind of expressing some of the disappointment, some of the emotion down here as people understand that, again, the river is going to win this battle.
What are you seeing there?
Jennifer, I'm seeing lots of water. Let me show you what that water is doing to this Ledbetter neighborhood. You see behind me, for those folks that live in that part of the neighborhood, there's about 6 houses back there. Unfortunately, for them, it's too late. The water came in so fast on Sunday, a lot of them couldn't get out with much more than what they had on. And this house beside me, though, this is the next line of defense. You see, this gentleman here has put sandbags all around his house, even has his air conditioning unit up on cinder blocks. He's ready for just about anything. And then this woman who lives in this house, we've been here today, and you can see that it's been sandbagged all around the house. But here's what's interesting. She had it surveyed, and she found that this is the 54-foot line. This is what the National Weather Service was talking about when the river would crest its 54 feet. If it hit that, it would put the water into her back door, and she'd have a lot of loss here. However, since they're now talking about 52 feet, puts the water right here. So you can see how important that 52 feet is. It's led to some very sleepless nights.
How fast?
Well, Jennifer, right now a lot of people are leaving, and let me show you why. If you look down here at the Ohio River, you can see that it is up on the levee here. It's got a few feet to go before it actually tops the levee, but you can just imagine the forces pushing up against that concrete there. And that's one reason why I talked to the mayor of Cairo today. He's issuing what he calls a strongly encouraged evacuation. He uses that term because he's not allowed to order people to leave. And this is why there is some frustration down here. They're frustrated with the process, with the very fight over this Bird's Point levee, because they feel like the fight itself is endangering lives.
And some people.
Well, we have all seen these worst-case scenarios when something goes wrong with a meth lab. And you may be thinking, I don't live in or near a meth lab, so I'm safe. But a Local 6 investigation has found that you could be risking significant meth exposure for you and your entire family every time you check into a hotel. And what's more, the law allows it. Would you stay in a hotel room that looked like this, with telltale signs of a meth lab in the garbage, on the counters, and all over the floor? What about this room? What if I told you they're the same room?
You never know what was going on in that hotel room before you got there.
Sergeant Will Gilbert was there during this bust and says hotel rooms make the perfect meth lab.
They go in, they close the doors, nobody's coming in to check on them, nobody notices that they're coming and going.
And we live in the epicenter of the meth problem. Our area led the nation in meth lab busts last year, and hotels are a growing part of that problem. 240 of Kentucky's busts were in multifamily units like apartments or hotels. A big reason for that growing popularity is the more portable one-pot or shake-and-bake method of making meth, an easier way to make the drug if done right. But Sergeant Gilbert also showed us what can happen to a car when things go wrong. In southern Illinois, police busted 6 hotel meth labs in just the past year. During one of those, an officer who responded to a lab at this Marion Econo Lodge was overcome by fumes and hospitalized. Plus, the hotel had to evacuate the entire second floor.
I've been in places that I've tested that are beautiful, and they've tested really bad.
Garland Funkin is a certified meth lab hygienist. We had him test 2 upscale hotel rooms in Paducah where police found meth labs.
What I'm doing now is I'm just basically randomly pick anywhere for my 4 testing points.
As he tests for meth, there's something you should know. In Tennessee and Kentucky, the law requires that licensed professionals clean meth labs in any home to a level of less than 0.1 parts per million before anyone can live there again. So just how much is 0.1 parts per million? It's not very much. Let me use this 50-pound bag of sand. I need tweezers to show you. It's just 9 grains out of a 50-pound bag. But no one knows what long-term exposure to even this much meth will do to a person. And while the Kentucky and Tennessee laws are very strict for homes, they specifically exclude hotels, meaning if you found this in a hotel room one day, it would be perfectly legal to rent it out to you the next day without anything more than a typical housekeeper cleaning. By the way, Illinois and Missouri have no cleanup requirement at all. And so now the testing is done, the samples are off to the lab, the disturbing results when we come back.
Now, before the break, we showed you 3 really nice local hotel rooms where police found meth labs. We also told you of a little-known loophole in the laws that exempts hotel rooms from the same cleanup requirements as homeowners.
Well, now we have the results of those tests, and we're going to also hear from the man who contaminated one of those rooms and exposed every guest after him to meth, possibly even guests in other rooms. When police arrived at this hotel room, they found ephedrine pills, lithium batteries, meth, and more. Just about all the ingredients you need to start a meth lab. They also found 37-year-old Tracy Scott and 40-year-old Dustin Giller.
I know the chemicals ain't good. I know the chemical compounds ain't good for you. I know the sulfuric smoke ain't good for you. I mean, I know this. It was just I couldn't quit once I got started.
Well, he's quit now. Dustin got 20 years in prison for manufacturing meth. But a Local 6 investigation has found that others are also being punished for his actions, and they don't even know it. We rented and tested the very room at Candlewood Suites where Dustin was busted. We also rented and tested this room at the Residence Inn where police busted a meth lab in 2008.
There are hotels that I would take my family to.
He only considers one of those rooms suitable for his family now. Lab tests show the Residence Inn came back clean, no meth residue. But the Candlewood Suites room came back with meth levels at 0.77 parts per million, almost 8 times the legal limit for a home. What's more, the laws in Kentucky and Tennessee specifically exempt hotels.
That's the risk you take, so. I mean, everybody's taking that risk, especially since there's no state laws.
And if you think you're safe by not staying at cheap hotels, well, you're not thinking like a drug dealer.
Because police watch them. They don't watch, $100 a night motel rooms.
That's why Sergeant Gilbert now double checks every hotel room no matter where he stays, no matter what the price.
I'll Google the hotel and try and see if it's had any major press releases.
We went to talk to the management of these 2 hotels that we tested, and what we found is that although they are located very close to each other, the way they handled this situation was very different. Management at the Residence Inn said they spent thousands of dollars on a contractor replacing almost everything in the room. That's why when we tested, it was meth-free.
And it's just the right thing to do for the safety of the guest and the employees of the hotel.
As for Candlewood Suites, we sent them our test results, but they had no comment. It's important to note, though, the law doesn't require them to clean up the meth residue.
And the thing about it is if they clean this room with a vacuum cleaner, they transfer it to the next room, to the next room, to the next room.
I personally prefer that it would be law that if a meth lab has been in a hotel, that that the hotel be required to make sure it's cleaned up.
Well, right now, Jefferson County, Kentucky has the only local ordinance requiring hotels to have meth labs professionally cleaned. I talked to McCracken County Judge Executive Van Newberry and Commissioner David Byers about this issue. They talked with Sheriff John Hayden and feel that the problem doesn't rise to the level that requires a change in the law. Well, folks, if you feel differently about the place where you live, I would recommend contacting your local elected official.
Lifeguards save lives every day, but it's not every day that a swimmer changes the life of a lifeguard. A moment of youthful exuberance led to a misunderstanding, which inspired a small act of kindness. Scott McGee shows us why this small thing is exactly what can spark big changes in our world.
It's no secret kids love swimming pools, and 6-year-old Cassandra Myers is a kid.
She just loves water.
But she, like most of these other kids, can love it a little too much sometimes. That's why they have lifeguards like Dylan Glidden.
People's lives are actually on the line.
So to protect those lives, they are armed with a steadfast, sunglassed gaze and a few other weapons. The whistle, a series of well-known commands, both verbal and nonverbal. But it's the whistle that keeps things here running so swimmingly.
Off the road!
This is Dylan's 4th year as a lifeguard here at Metropolis Pool, and the system worked fine until recently when he met Cassandra.
I started blowing my whistle at her, and she wouldn't turn around or even acknowledge me. And then her brother tapped her and yelled at me, said she's deaf, and I felt bad about it.
And this is where our story deviates from typical behavior, especially by an 18-year-old. Rather than merely apologize for that misunderstanding, Dylan decided to make a friend. But Dylan realized if he really wanted to be her friend, he was going to have to learn to be her friend.
Because if no one takes the effort to learn her language, then who can she communicate with in the real world if no one takes that effort?
And what an effort it's been. That night, he went home and studied sign language till 5 a.m. In all, some 30 hours he spent learning to communicate to Cassandra in a way no whistle can.
He became my best bud.
Really great. It's really great that he did it.
Cassandra's grandmother is overwhelmed by the gesture.
I didn't expect that out of nobody.
You are the best man.
Thank you.
But Dylan gained more than just a friend here. He also got some perspective on his future.
When I met her, it kind of sparked the interest that my career, I want to go into special education.
And he's already learned a valuable lesson, that you don't need a whistle to save a life or to make a friend. Walk. In Metropolis, Scott McGee for WPSD Local 6.
Well, Cassandra is totally deaf in one ear, but does have about 20% hearing in the other. However, she can't wear a hearing aid at the pool. As for Dylan, he starts his freshman year at Shawnee Community College in the fall.